Hi, it's JW again, and it's more of failed electrical products. These adapters, which were bought from another Chinese seller on eBay, and they're the sort of thing that you're supposed to use, and it converts sort of any plug to most of any others. Here's another one which is fairly similar, though it's slightly different design. In the pack they're not looking too bad, but bought these because just from the actual design of them it was apparent that there was at least one major failing in the design which could actually be extremely dangerous, so let's see if that is actually the case. Okay, we've got the two products here in the packaging as they were supplied, and they're both fairly similar. This is sort of a double blister type pack, and this has a card on the back there. Have a look at this one first. This back here just pops off, and it comes with this bag, which seems a rather bizarre addition to the mix there. That presumably can be stored in there for future purposes, I suppose. Anyway, that seems pretty relevant. Now the packaging, as you can see, doesn't actually have any real information on it. There's some fairly basic instructions there. There's no manufacturer's name, address, barcode or anything else to identify the culprits that manufactured it. Some sort of CE mark there, which probably means Chinese exports rather than what it should mean. And the thing itself once again has the dubious two letters on there. Some sort of red indicator there. It has actually got shutters at least, which is at least something, I suppose. Which presumably is, yeah, they're not. So they're crap, aren't they? I mean, just look at that. I mean, the point of the shutters is you're not supposed to be able to poke things in there, and yet if we just get the screwdriver there, look, it will easily just go straight in there. Yeah, that's just absolute rubbish. I don't really know why they bothered. I mean, and the hole's so big, I mean, you can't actually get your finger in, but yeah, I mean, that's just not, that's not stopping anything. There's a hole here where the earth pin, or whatever pins that the various plugs have, would go, but there's actually no metal in there, so good luck trying to actually connect a three-prong appliance there, and of course there's nothing to stop you doing that. It just wouldn't be earthed if you plugged it in there. It's got these sort of lock and unlock things on the top and the bottom, and the purpose being that if you unlock it, the pins will spring out. That's the UK standard there. This one does actually stick a bit, so you have to sort of pull the pins out and lock it, and yeah, it's well, it's in place. That pin just sort of flops about and doesn't really do a great deal. For your European, it's this thing which just sort of bends out like that with your two round pins, and at the top there you've got the other prongs there for well, USA or whatever there, and they should, yes, twist for the Australian or other countries that have them on various angles. Now, the thing that occurs to me when I saw the design of this was that these pins could be left in that sort of position so that they're actually protruding, so that if you plug this into a UK socket that was made of metal, the problem you would have is that this pin here would be live, connecting to obviously this pin as well, and of course that pin then would press against the metal front of the socket, and you're basically shorting out the main, so there'd be a pretty substantial explosion, and who knows what kind of bad things would happen. So of course it all depends if there is continuity on those pins, so let's find out. Right, I've got some probes here, we'll just check continuity. See there, it's beeps when there is. So is there any continuity between that, which actually doesn't even fit very well, and this? Well, interestingly, no, there isn't, so they have thought of that. Let's pry that out. Presumably it will switch on at some point. No, it's just totally totally bust. That's just... there's continuity there. Oh, I see. So, what the hell is going on there then? Nope. So we have continuity on this pair. Let's bend that back. Yeah, it's still there. Okay, and it turns off about there. Okay, so that wouldn't actually short out there, but I still don't like the design of it. So then what's going on here then? Nope, there's nothing there. That surely is an epic failure, because surely there's got to be, otherwise it's not going to work. Yeah. Now the second possible failure is, of course that would only occur if there was a metal socket and the pins were sort of low protruding, but presumably some switch in here will open it up later and have a look. So that's a start. Now the other problem is that these two up here presumably have continuity there as well, so if they're poked out, let's just have a look. Yes. Oh yes, definitely, yeah. So this is plugged in your UK socket there, that with the live pin on that side, and of course that means this pin is live. So if you plug that in there, typical socket is only going to come up to about, well, here somewhere, and of course these could be protruding if they were left poked out over the top, so a finger's in there and you've killed yourself. That is definitely not a good plan. Of course what you're supposed to do is to put those pins away and then just plug it in, but even so you could still potentially get your finger over the top there and contact that live pin in there. Yeah, suicide pins, that is really a poor design, and potentially the same thing could happen if you had your European pins out there. If those go in like that, put that in the European outlet, and of course that can be put in either way round, not a polarised fixture. This and that are going to be connected, and that are connected, so that goes in your wall socket, and bearing in mind the length of this extra plastic here, that leaves plenty of space for these pins to be poked at by people or whoever. So yes, that is a pretty poor example. I'll get a proper UK socket in a moment and we'll see how it would actually look on the wall. This is the other one. It's basically the same design. It's got the pop-out suicide pins in there, and of course this pin which it actually goes beyond the vertical there, which and it doesn't lock in position. Even if you lock that, that's there, but this is still all over the place. And of course plastic, so no earth, and there's no contact there again, so there's a potential problem there. Shutters, yeah, just as bad as the other one. Just needs to be defeated with a screwdriver, or in fact any poking implement. Yeah, or even the ruler, probably just pry in there. Yeah, that's poor. This has the added bonus of a USB adapter hole there, which allegedly is going to supply 1 amp at 5 volts. That seems optimistic, so we might check that out as well. Okay, this is a standard UK socket, twin model or receptacle if you are American and prefer that terminology, and that would typically be either mounted on the wall in a flush arrangement, so all of the back here would be on the wall and you just have that white piece showing, or the other way is to use a surface box and that would fit like that, sticking out half a mile. But either way, the actual perimeter of the thing is the same. So let's bring in the adapter of evil and see if it actually does fit. Yeah, that should go in there. Okay, well it does just about clear the switch there. That's good news, I suppose. And yeah, as expected, there is a gap there, so if that's on your wall like that, that would be the wall where my finger is there. Oh, we can actually just use a bit of paper there. That's the wall, and there's a considerable gap there, which is essentially the thickness of the faceplate and it's big enough to get fingers and such in there. And of course, if those things are exposed, yeah, you can definitely touch that with your finger, no trouble. And of course, adult fingers fit there, child's fingers would fit even more easily. It's some difficulty in removing it from the socket there. Okay, this would be the situation if it was on a surface fixed box. You've got that extra depth there, so that would be flat on the wall at the back there, and then you've got that extra section sticking out. Typically done in places where it's done to be cheaper and quicker, such as poor quality rented properties. And the problem is, of course, much worse. So if we can actually get this thing to fit in there, we can hopefully get the other one to fit over there. There you go. So this is all your depth from the wall. The wall will be back here, about where that piece of cardboard is, like that. And of course, those live pins are completely exposed along the top there, and of course over there. And if they were accidentally unlocked, they'll actually have a tendency to spring out and ease that away from the socket face itself. That one's not too bad in that regard. It does at least secure, but that one, as you see, there's a definite movement on it. This does not, that does not fit there well at all. I don't have any European wall outlets or sockets here, but I can imagine the same situation is going to apply, simply for the fact that that sticks out a substantial distance. Then you've either got these accidentally left protruding, or probably not those, because the socket on those is fairly round, so they would more likely be covered by the socket itself, but these certainly would be right in the danger zone. The back of these actually is pretty much identical, so they're obviously the same internals, just have a different outer casing, and the front socket again is the same pretty poor old thing. Once again, there's no fuse in any of these. It doesn't appear to be. At any rate, it's simply a straight through connection. So again, you've got that problem of if you're using a plug that's outside the UK, such as a 2-pin Chinese thing or whatever else, then it's totally unfused. So a 30 amp or 32 amp circuit in here, and then you could have a little thin 0.5mm flex trailing on the back of it. Does that fit? Yep. Straight in there. Little thin flex, 32 amp protective device clearly is going to result in this overheating at best, setting on fire at worst. Now just notice that this other one also comes with this little bag, and it has some sort of instructions inside. Alright, there we go. That side is in English, it appears, and the other side is not. So getting back to the English side, I presume this is the case because the pack on this is just one of these clamshell type things, and there's absolutely nothing on it. It's got a little picture at the bottom showing the different outlets it can plug into, and the back is just a little short bit of text in considerable number of different languages, which doesn't tell you anything. So this is presumably the equivalent of these instructions on the back of the other one, and they look, they are in fact identical, without reading that in great detail. But yeah, the pictures are the same, the text is the same, and they're more than likely made in the same factory. This is another common situation. These four-way extension lead type adapters, very common, particularly if people have got a small number of outlets in the house, which is in virtually most houses. You just buy these with the 4 or sometimes more sockets in there, and then it just has a lead with a single plug on the end. Now, nothing wrong with these in themselves. There's a 13 amp fuse in there, so you can't actually get more than 13 amps out of that. But of course this will presumably fit in here as well, and they do just about fit side by side there. But yeah, as you can see, it's a complete disaster because both the European and the USA or Australian pins are readily accessible there if you haven't bothered to lock them away. And in the case of the European one, if it's folded away, well, yes, it is out of reach, but of course those two clearly are not. They're right there waiting to be poked at, and just confirm there is actually some continuity on those. So even if the pins are retracted or locked in with the little lever there, there is still the easy potential of touching those. Let's just see if there's any continuity between them. Okay, so not in the closed position. Yeah, but when they're extended, yeah. Seems a very unreliable connection, but yeah, easily connectable, and presumably the European, yeah. Absolutely. Just to prove that that would kill somebody, here's the plug which would go into the mains outlet. Let's put that in the picture there. That's the live pin over there on that side, and yeah. So there you are. 3 deadly bits of metal, and of course this one is the neutral, which will connect likewise. Yeah, of course irrelevant because this doesn't have any of those, it's just a plastic hole. So it does appear that there is some sort of switch inside which disconnects the pins here when they are folded away, or in the case of those are retracted, but of course when they are exposed there, continuity there, and obviously when those are folded out, yeah, and that remains pretty much for most of the length until you actually get almost on the horizontal. And of course you should presumably use this with the pins retracted, but the fact it's just a little slide switch, they could easily just pop out anytime waiting to kill people. Same situation with that one. And certainly in the worst case scenario, which is this adapter thing, which fits in like that. Allegedly safe in that situation, but just knock that over, and there you are. Suicide pins are exposed. Well, I've got these connected to the testing machine. Let's just see if they do actually work. Okay, that's got a red light on it, and this one has a green for some inexplicable reason. There we are. Who can know what the designers of these things were thinking? And that green one slowly fades out. Presumably there's a capacitor or something in there that's holding the charge. That's the one with the USB fixture there, so not desperately surprising. Okay, this is the same situation, just upside down there, so the suicide holes are exposed on the back there. And we just test using this probe coming in here, and if there's any continuity between this probe and these terminals, then that is a massive fail. So let's try it with the pins retracted first of all. Well, there you go. That's a huge fail there, that dreadful noise. That's rather interesting because this one here, which is the one with the just the surge protector in it, did actually pass, but this clearly did not. So I was wondering what the maybe it's something to do with that USB adapter in there. Yes, that's definitely failed. So that may be the fact that the USB item has caused that, or maybe it's been destroyed with the testing voltage. This probe applies about 3000 volts to confirm the quality of the insulation. Probably not suitable for testing electronic devices, but on the other hand, that was with the pins in and theoretically disconnected, so it shouldn't have actually made the slightest bit of difference. Let's just try this one again with the pins extended. I'm sure we can guess what the result's going to be, but we'll just have a look anyway. Yep, fail, and obviously so that's a definite fail. There's no question about the danger of that item. And of course no earth pin on the front, no fusing, a bit of a major disaster. And of course if you just went and bought this, if you were either going abroad or if you were visiting the UK and wanted to plug in your plug some other countries in there, of course you wouldn't necessarily know about this. I'll just put this one back in with the USB thing inside, and the light does still turn on, so it's not entirely clear whether that test has actually killed it or not. It still does exactly what it did before, so maybe not. Maybe it's just a piece of failing junk in the first place. This is a metal-faced socket, and all of this metal work would be connected to earth via the terminals on the back. So in the case of this adapter, the pins would actually contact onto the earth metal. Now of course they should be disconnected in the retracted position, but as we saw on the other adapter, that's not actually the case. They do appear to have some possibility of connecting to the line and neutral terminal. So once again, if that does happen, you're shorting out the mains, no fuse there, so there's going to be a bit of a big bang and possibly an explosion. Now this one claims to have a surge protector in it. I really don't see the point, and I would have to question the point of having a surge protector that doesn't actually connect to the earth terminal there, because clearly it's a plastic pin, it's not going to connect to anything, so it's purely on the line and neutral there. This one also has a surge protector allegedly, and this is the one with this USB socket in the top which claims to supply an amp. I doubt it very much. Again, it's got these sort of, they look like covers for screws, but they're not, they're just indents in the plastic, so I don't think there's actually any screws in there, although the whole thing yeah, there is some movement there, so maybe it is screwed, but anyway, we'll see if we can get in there and open it up and see what's inside. Right, I've just milled out those holes, and it looks like there is some screws in the bottom, so hopefully we can just go in there, not with that one, and yep, just unscrew those two screws, and then we shall see what is contained within. Right, well here we are inside the device. The first thing to notice is that just by undoing those two screws, the whole thing has basically disintegrated into a pile of springs and various other bits and pieces. We'll just have a look in the main thing. As expected, it is just straight through connections, so that's the holes on the front there. Again, no earth at all, just the two line and neutrals which come through here. All the terminals are the same design. That's the UK one, so when they're actually protruding there, the pins here are right on the front of the casing, which of course means they will contact on the pins inside the case there. And of course when they're pushed in, they will go down to the bottom, inside the bottom there, and obviously away from the contact, so they are only connected when they are in fact protruding. Now the other one is the one with the USB adapter inside. That's obviously the power converter there, and that's just the socket at the bottom. We can possibly extract that from in there. Yeah, well, there's pretty much nothing on that at all. Input wires there, connected directly across the main supply, so that's 240 volts on these extremely thin, flimsy little wires there. Just to get an idea of the scale of that, let's bring the ruler, that's in millimeters there, and yeah, they are ridiculously tiny. That goes straight into this little board, and of course the output is on the same extremely thin wires. Let's just get that out of there. The other one opens up the same way, it's just the two screws holding it together, and once those are uncovered, the whole thing just comes apart incredibly easily. Yeah, once again the same, just wiping contacts there, and there's the insides. And there's your surge protector there. A single device, a MOV probably, and just connected directly between the line and neutral. So yes, it does have a surge protector, but really that's not going to do anything for anybody. And in this case it's not an LED, it's probably a neon, again just between the two line and neutral, and it's just two wires going up to the little neon indicator in the top of the case, which appears just to be glued in position. A couple of resistors under the heat shrink there, and that's all there is. Well, on that second one, that is the surge protection, that single device. It's just connected directly across the supply. Not likely to do a great deal for surge protection or anything else. And as for the other one, there's actually nothing in the casing at all there. So whatever surge protection they're claiming presumably is on this board, but really I don't see any surge protection there. You've just got a few capacitors, the transistor or whatever it is, and that is it. I have at least put some slots there between the two halves, the mains and the 5 volt, but yeah, really it's remarkable you can actually make a power supply with so few components. That one with the USB does have this other small board which fitted in the top of the casing there. It's purely really to hold the USB socket in place, and there's nothing else on the back really, just a few resistors there. That's a little that's the LED, which is that green one which showed through the front panel. A single capacitor there, and that's about it. This is the USB version, and I just actually looked to see what was happening with these pins. On that test, even when they were retracted, the test was a fail, which suggests that these have somehow connected internally to either the line or neutral or both. What's actually happened is that this design internally is slightly different to the other one, and there's the pins which should be disconnected, but just below it, literally a millimetre or so below, is the set of contacts which they are supposed to connect to when they're exposed. So these pins are very, very loose in the housing, and so depending on the position of them, they could easily contact those terminals in there, and of course be connected to the supply even though the pins are actually retracted. Inside this one, the actual pins rest on these two springs here, and at this end there's two additional mouldings which go into the slots on the side of the corresponding pins there, but at the top, because of the USB connector board there are no plastic guides for this to sit into. Now in the lid there are plastic guides at both ends, but if you look at the actual size of it, they only protrude a fairly short distance at that end, and what this means is when the pins are extended it's fully over these plastic guides, so they're quite secure. But when they're retracted and stuck way down there, the end of that is about 2 or 3 millimetres in the plastic guides there, so they're quite free to move around and actually contact onto the live or neutral pins in there. There's also another even worse situation in that when this is pressed down, those two contacts there which just press onto here will actually short onto the back of the USB casing there. So potentially if that's pressed down and fully retracted, these pins are now connected to the casing of the USB socket, and if they move forward you've now got the mains either there, or worst case scenario shorting it out inside the adapter, or if it's just one connected you've potentially got the live connected right through to the metal casing, and you've then got a live on this here, and obviously that will then go through to the device that was plugged in there. So it appears that this design has either been altered and it had the original guides at this end and they've changed it to put this board in, or they just forgot to put them in, which has resulted in these top pins simply not having anything to fit onto other than those two little spring posts there. This is the other one which did actually pass the test, and it's significantly different in that at this end it's got the plastic mouldings on both ends, so regardless of the position of those pins they will actually be secured in there. If we just take the springs out, as you can see it will fit in there, so it's secured there and won't actually able to move forward and contact between the pin and the metalwork inside. And again in the lid you've got the same situation there, so regardless of the position it's moving on these little plastic rails at both ends. Well, that's it for that video, and once again the perils of buying things on eBay which appear at first sight to be perfectly fine, but in the end are in fact just a load of old junk, and potentially extremely dangerous if those pins were contacted by people's fingers. So buyer beware is definitely the rule there.